Naomi freezes when she sees him. Lucas Blackwood, her husband standing at the restaurant entrance. The same man who hasn't spoken to her properly in 3 years. Daniel follows her gaze. Friend of yours? Lucas is already walking toward them. Naomi's heart drops. He pulls out a chair, sits down like he belongs there. I hope I'm not interrupting, he says. Daniel looks confused. Actually, we were on a date with my wife. Silence. Naomi swallows. We're separated. She cuts in, her voice sharper than intended. We live separate lives. Lucas turns to her slowly, and there's something dark and hungry in his gaze. Do we? He asks softly. Because from where I'm sitting, you're still wearing my ring. Lucas looks at her hand. At the ring. Then why are you still wearing my name? Would you stay with a man who only wanted you when someone else did? Welcome to The Contract Wife. And if you want to see how far jealousy can push a cold marriage to its breaking point, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to get messy. Naomi's fingers instinctively touch the platinum band on her left hand, a reflex she hates. 3 years of wearing this ring like a shackle, and now Lucas wants to use it as evidence of something that never existed. She pulls her hand away from the table, hiding it in her lap. You should go, she tells Lucas, keeping her voice steady, even though her pulse is racing. This is inappropriate. What's inappropriate? Lucas says, leaning back in his chair with the casual confidence of someone who's never been told no. Is my wife having dinner with another man without telling me? Daniel stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Look, I don't know what kind of game this is, but I'm not interested in being part of it. He pulls out his wallet, but Lucas raises a hand. I'll take care of the bill, Lucas says smoothly. It's the least I can do for the inconvenience. Naomi. Daniel looks at her, waiting for her to say something, to fix this, to explain. But what can she say? That her marriage is a business arrangement? That her husband has barely spoken to her in months? That this sudden possessiveness is as shocking to her as it is to him? I'm sorry, she whispers, and Daniel's expression shifts from confusion to disappointment. He leaves without another word, and Naomi watches her first chance at normalcy in 3 years walk out the door. The moment they're alone, she turns on Lucas with barely contained fury. What the hell was that? That, Lucas says, picking up the wine glass Daniel left behind and examining it with mild interest, was me reminding you of something you seem to have forgotten. Reminding me of what? That I'm trapped in a marriage where my husband can't even be bothered to eat breakfast with me? Where I sleep alone every night in a penthouse that feels more like a mausoleum than a home. Something flickers across Lucas's face, too quick to read. You agreed to this arrangement. I agreed to a partnership, Naomi snaps. What I got was abandonment with a nice view. Lucas sets down the wine glass with deliberate care. If you wanted my attention, Mrs. Blackwood, there were better ways to get it than parading yourself in front of strangers. The use of her married name feels like a brand, hot and unwelcome. I wasn't parading anywhere. I was trying to have one normal evening. One conversation with someone who actually sees me as a person, not a signature on a contract. And did he? Lucas's voice drops lower, almost intimate. Did he see you, Naomi? Did he notice the way you twist your hair when you're nervous? Did he know that you hate red wine but order it anyway because you think it makes you look sophisticated? Did he understand that you've been slowly disappearing in our apartment because I've been too much of a coward to acknowledge what that might mean? Naomi's breath catches. In 3 years, Lucas has never said anything like this. Never acknowledged her habits, her preferences, her existence beyond the legal documents that bind them. You don't get to do this, she says, but her voice wavers. You don't get to ignore me for years and then suddenly act like you care. I've always cared. Lucas stands, buttoning his suit jacket. I just didn't know how to show it without losing control of everything else. Control. Naomi laughs bitterly. That's all this is to you, isn't it? You didn't care that I was on a date. You cared that something in your perfectly ordered world was moving without your permission. Lucas's jaw tightens. The car is waiting outside. We're going home. No. The word comes out stronger than she expected. I'm not a dog you can summon when it's convenient. If you want to talk, we talk here. In public. Where you'll have to treat me like an equal instead of property. For a long moment, Lucas just stares at her, and Naomi can see the war happening behind his eyes. Control versus desire. Power versus vulnerability. Finally, he sits back down, and it feels like a victory, however small. I had you followed, he admits, and the honesty is so unexpected that Naomi almost misses it. For the past 2 months, every coffee shop, every gallery visit, every Thursday evening when you told Maya you were too tired to meet her but came here instead, testing the waters with men who don't know your last name. The invasion of privacy should outrage her, but what stuns her more is the implication. You've been watching me for 2 months? Watching, Lucas corrects. Not interfering. Not until tonight. Why tonight? Lucas's expression darkens. Because tonight you looked happy. Because Daniel made you laugh in a way I haven't heard in years. Because for the first time since we signed those papers, I realized that you might actually leave. The confession hangs between them, raw and exposed. Naomi wants to feel vindicated, but all she feels is tired. You had 3 years to make me happy, Lucas. 3 years to make this marriage real. You chose not to. I chose wrong, he says simply. Let me choose differently now. It doesn't work like that. You can't just decide one day that you want me, because someone else might. Can't I? Lucas leans forward, his voice dropping to that dangerous register that makes her pulse quicken despite herself. You were never supposed to belong to anyone else, Naomi. That was the one thing I was certain of, even when I was certain of nothing else. I don't belong to anyone, she says firmly. That's the whole point you keep missing. Lucas studies her for a long moment, then signals the waiter and pays the bill without looking at it. Come home, he says, standing again. Not because I'm ordering you. Because we need to finish this conversation somewhere that isn't a stage for curious observers. Naomi glances around and realizes he's right. Half the restaurant has been watching their exchange with poorly concealed interest. The last thing either of them needs is their private dysfunction becoming tomorrow's gossip. She stands, gathering her coat and purse, and follows Lucas out into the cold November night. The car is indeed waiting, a sleek black Mercedes with tinted windows. Lucas's driver, James, nods respectfully as he opens the door. Naomi slides into the leather interior, and Lucas follows, maintaining a careful distance between them. The privacy screen is already up. They ride in silence for several blocks before Lucas speaks. I know what you think of me. Do you? You think I'm cold, calculating, incapable of anything beyond business transactions and power plays. Naomi looks out the window at the city, lights blurring past. You've given me no reason to think otherwise. My mother died when I was 12, Lucas says abruptly, and Naomi's head snaps toward him. He's never mentioned his mother before, never offered any piece of his past that wasn't already public knowledge. Car accident. My father remarried within 6 months to a woman who saw me as competition for her own children's inheritance. I learned early that love makes you vulnerable, that caring about someone gives them power to destroy you. So, you decided to never care about anyone? I decided to never need anyone, Lucas corrects. There's a difference. But then my father arranged our marriage, and I told myself it was just another business deal. That I could keep you at arm's length, provide for you materially, and never let you close enough to be a liability. How's that working out for you? The sarcasm comes automatically, a defense mechanism. Terribly, Lucas admits with something that might be self-deprecation. Because somewhere between the separate bedrooms and the silent dinners, you became the one person whose opinion of me actually matters. And I realized too late that I'd built a cage for both of us. The car pulls up to their building, a glass and steel tower in the heart of the financial district. The doorman greets them with practiced professionalism as they enter the marble lobby. In the elevator, Naomi watches their reflection in the polished doors. They look like strangers. Attractive strangers who happen to share an address, but strangers nonetheless. The penthouse is exactly as she left it. Immaculate. Cold. Beautiful and empty. Lucas goes straight to the bar and pours himself 2 fingers of scotch. Do you want something? Answers, Naomi says, dropping her purse on the entry table. You want to choose differently? What does that even mean? Lucas takes a long drink before responding. It means I want to start over. Real dates. Real conversations. A real marriage. You can't just erase 3 years of neglect with good intentions. I'm not trying to erase anything. I'm trying to build something new on top of the ruins. He sets down his glass and moves toward her, stopping just outside her personal space. I know I have no right to ask for another chance, but I'm asking anyway. Naomi should say no. Every rational part of her brain is screaming that this is manipulation, that Lucas only wants her because he's losing control of the situation. But there's a smaller, more desperate part that remembers why she agreed to this marriage in the first place. Not for love, but for the promise of partnership. Of belonging somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, that promise isn't completely dead. 1 month, she hears herself say. You have 1 month to prove that you can treat me like a wife instead of a business asset. Real effort. Real presence. No more separate lives under one roof. Lucas's expression shifts, something like relief crossing his features. 1 month. And if it doesn't work, we revisit the terms of this arrangement, including the possibility of ending it. A muscle twitches in his jaw, but he nods. Agreed. Naomi should feel victorious. Instead, she just feels exhausted. I'm going to bed. Alone. Your month starts tomorrow. She walks to her bedroom, the door clicking shut behind her with a finality that feels both protective and isolating. Through the walls, she hears Lucas moving around the kitchen, the clink of glass on marble, the quiet sounds of a man wrestling with decisions he can't take back. She changes into her pajamas and crawls into bed, staring at the ceiling and wondering if she's just made the biggest mistake of her life or if she's finally given herself permission to want something real. Her phone buzzes. A text from Maya. How was the date? Did architect boy get a second chance? Naomi types and deletes 3 different responses before settling on. Complicated. Call you tomorrow. Maya's response is immediate. Oh. Lucas found out. Something like that. Want me to come over?
No.
I need to figure this out on my own. You're not on your own, babe. Whatever you need, I'm here. The message makes Naomi's eyes sting. Maya has been her lifeline through this whole arrangement. The one person who knows the truth about her marriage and doesn't judge her for staying. I know. Thank you. She sets the phone aside and closes her eyes, but sleep doesn't come. Instead, she lies awake thinking about the look in Lucas's eyes when he said she was never supposed to belong to anyone else. About the way his voice cracked slightly when he called himself a coward. About the impossible mathematics of trying to build something real on a foundation of contracts and convenience. The next morning, Naomi wakes to the smell of coffee. Real coffee, not the instant stuff she usually makes for herself. She pulls on a robe and ventures into the kitchen to find Lucas at the stove, making breakfast. He's in casual clothes, jeans and a dark sweater, looking more human than she's seen him in months. I didn't know you cooked, she says, leaning against the doorframe. I don't usually. But I figured if I'm starting a month-long campaign to win my wife's approval, I should probably learn. He plates what looks like scrambled eggs and toast, only slightly burnt around the edges. Fair warning, this might be terrible. Naomi takes a seat at the island. Accepting the plate, he slides toward her. The eggs are indeed overcooked, and the toast is more carbon than bread, but she eats it anyway because the effort matters more than the execution. It's not terrible, she lies. Lucas sits across from her with his own plate. You're a terrible liar. Then I'll be honest. It's pretty bad. But I appreciate the attempt. Something like a smile tugs at his lips. I've cleared my schedule for today. I thought we could do something together. Your choice. Naomi stares at him, genuinely shocked. Lucas hasn't cleared his schedule for anything non-work related in the entire time she's known him. You're serious. Completely.
Museum?
Shopping? We could drive out to that vineyard you mentioned wanting to visit last year. You remember that? I remember everything you say, Naomi. I just haven't been good at acting on it. The admission is so unexpected that she doesn't know how to respond. She takes a sip of coffee, which is actually good, thankfully, and considers her options. The botanical gardens, she finally says. There's a winter exhibit I've been wanting to see. Then, that's what we'll do. They spend the day wandering through glass conservatories filled with tropical plants and exotic flowers, a pocket of summer in the middle of winter. Lucas is attentive in ways that feel foreign and familiar at once, holding her coat, asking questions about the plants she's drawn to, not checking his phone every 5 minutes. They have actual conversations about things that don't matter, movies, music, childhood memories. Naomi learns that Lucas wanted to be an architect before his father pushed him into the family business, that he collects vintage watches, that he's allergic to strawberries and once ended up in the emergency room after eating a dessert at a business dinner rather than admitting the weakness. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, Naomi says, laughing despite herself. I was 23 and trying to close a deal with a man who'd made the dessert himself. Admitting the allergy felt like admitting vulnerability. And nearly dying wasn't vulnerable? Nearly dying was dramatic. There's a difference. But he's smiling when he says it, and for a moment, Naomi can see the person he might have been without the weight of his family's expectations crushing him into someone unrecognizable. They have dinner at a small Italian restaurant, nothing fancy, and Lucas asks about her MBA, about the career she put on hold when they married. You wanted to work in sustainable business development, he says. What happened to that? Your father made it clear that a Blackwood wife doesn't work outside the family business. And there was no role for me in logistics. Lucas's expression darkens. My father made a lot of things clear that weren't his decision to make. You never contradicted him. No, Lucas agrees quietly. I didn't. Add it to the list of things I did wrong. The evening ends back at the penthouse, both of them tired but less tense than usual. At the door to her bedroom, Naomi pauses. Today was good, she admits. Good enough for a second date? Don't push your luck, Blackwood. But she's smiling when she closes the door, and she thinks maybe, possibly, this could work. Maybe people can change. Maybe marriages built on contracts can grow into something real. The illusion lasts exactly 1 week. It's a Thursday afternoon when everything shifts. Naomi is having lunch with Maya at their favorite cafe, catching her up on the past week's unexpected developments, when her phone buzzes with a calendar notification. Blackwood Group quarterly lunch, 2 p.m. I forgot about this, Naomi mutters, checking the time. Lucas wants me to start attending the company functions. Says it's part of making the marriage look more real. Maya raises an eyebrow. Look more real, or be more real? I'm honestly not sure anymore. The lunch is at an upscale steakhouse downtown, the kind of place where deals are made and alliances are formed over expensive cuts of meat and older wine. Naomi arrives to find Lucas already seated with several executives she recognizes from previous events. He stands when he sees her, pulling out the chair beside him with a proprietary gesture that's both flattering and slightly possessive. Gentlemen, you remember my wife, Naomi. The men nod politely, offering the kind of superficial pleasantries that come standard in these situations. Naomi settles into her role, smiling at the right moments, asking intelligent questions about market trends and expansion plans. She can feel Lucas's approval in the way his hand occasionally brushes hers under the table, the way he includes her in conversations rather than talking around her. She's actually starting to enjoy herself when the door opens and everything changes. The man who enters is tall, with dark hair silvered at the temples and eyes that assess the room with calculated precision. He's handsome in a dangerous way, all sharp angles and controlled power. The executives at their table tense immediately, and Lucas's hand tightens on his water glass. Evan Cross, one of the men, mutters. What's he doing here? Lucas's expression goes carefully blank, the same mask he wore in their early marriage. Business, I'm sure. Cross doesn't do anything without a reason. Evan spots their table, and his lips curve into a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. He makes his way over with the confidence of someone who knows he's unwelcome, but doesn't care. Lucas. Gentlemen. His gaze lands on Naomi and something shifts in his expression, becoming warmer, more genuine. And you must be the famous Mrs. Blackwood. I've heard so much about you. Nothing good, I hope, Naomi says, falling into the easy banter that comes from years of navigating her family's social politics. Evan laughs, surprised and pleased. On the contrary, Lucas has been keeping you remarkably well hidden. I'm starting to understand why. Lucas stands, positioning himself slightly between Naomi and Evan. Cross. I wasn't aware you'd be joining us. I wasn't aware I needed an invitation to have lunch in a public restaurant. Evan's smile sharpens. But since I'm here, perhaps we could discuss the Singapore expansion? I understand Blackwood Group has been making moves in the same market. Not here, Lucas says flatly. Then where? You've been dodging my calls for weeks. The tension at the table has become palpable. The other executives look like they'd rather be anywhere else. Naomi recognizes the signs of a power play, of two predators circling each other in neutral territory. What surprises her is Evan's continued attention to her, the way his eyes keep drifting back with something like curiosity. Mrs. Blackwood, Evan says, addressing her directly. What's your take on the Singapore market? I'd be interested in an outside perspective. It's a trap, obviously. Anything she says will be used as ammunition in whatever game Evan and Lucas are playing. But Naomi has spent enough time in her own family's boardrooms to know how to navigate these waters. I think Singapore is oversaturated with Western logistics companies trying to corner the Asian market without understanding the regional nuances, she says carefully. Any expansion there would need to prioritize local partnerships and cultural competency over aggressive market capture. Otherwise, you're just burning money on infrastructure that won't generate sustainable returns. Silence falls over the table. The executives look impressed despite themselves. Lucas looks torn between pride and annoyance. And Evan looks absolutely delighted. See, that's exactly the kind of thinking Blackwood Group should be valuing, Evan says. Tell me, Mrs. Blackwood, are you involved in your husband's company strategy? No, Lucas cuts in before Naomi can respond. Naomi has her own interests. Shame, Evan says lightly. With insights like that, she'd be an asset to any organization. He pulls out a business card and slides it across the table to Naomi. If you ever want to discuss business opportunities, I'd be happy to take you to lunch. No husbands required. The audacity of the move steals Naomi's breath. Evan Cross has just openly flirted with her in front of Lucas and several witnesses, disguised as a business proposition. She should refuse the card, laugh it off as an inappropriate joke. Instead, she picks it up and tucks it into her purse. I'll keep that in mind, she says coolly. Lucas's hand finds her knee under the table, squeezing hard enough to leave a message. Naomi, we should go. Actually, I haven't finished my lunch, she says, not moving. She doesn't know why she's pushing back, only that Evan's card feels like power in a situation where she usually has none. Now, Lucas says, his voice dropping into that dangerous register that brooks no argument. If you're wondering whether Naomi should take Evan's offer, drop a comment below. And if you want to see how this power struggle plays out, make sure you hit that like button, because things are about to get complicated. Naomi stands, maintaining her composure, even though she can feel the eyes of everyone in the restaurant on them. Gentlemen, it was lovely meeting you all. She turns to Evan. Mr. Cross. Mrs. Blackwood, Evan says with a slight bow that somehow feels mocking. I look forward to our next conversation. Lucas practically pulls her out of the restaurant, his grip on her elbow firm but not painful. They don't speak until they're in the car, privacy screen up, city sliding past the windows. What the hell was that? Lucas demands. What was what? A business conversation? That was Evan Cross making a play for you in front of half the industry's most influential people. Maybe he was just being friendly. Evan Cross doesn't do friendly. He does strategic. And right now, his strategy apparently involves my wife. Naomi pulls her arm free from his grip. Your wife. There it is again. You were doing so well this week, Lucas. Actually treating me like a partner. And then the moment another man shows interest, you revert to caveman possessiveness. Evan Cross is not just another man, Lucas says, his voice tight with barely controlled fury. He's a rival. He runs a syndicate that's been trying to undermine my family's business for years. Everything he does is calculated to cause maximum damage. Then maybe you shouldn't have ignored me for 3 years, Naomi shoots back. Maybe if you treated me like I mattered from the beginning, I wouldn't be so susceptible to someone else's attention. Lucas goes very still. Is that what this is? You're trying to make me jealous by entertaining his advances? I'm not trying to do anything except have one conversation where someone treats me like my opinions have value. Your opinions have always had value to me. Then, why has it taken 3 years and another man's interest for you to show it? Lucas doesn't have an answer for that, and the silence that follows feels like an indictment. When they reach the penthouse, he disappears into his office without another word, and Naomi is left alone in the cavernous living room, Evan Cross's business card burning a hole in her purse. She pulls it out, studying the embossed lettering. Cross International, CEO and founder. There's a personal cell number written on the back in confident handwriting. She should throw it away. Should tell Lucas she's not interested in being a pawn in whatever corporate warfare he and Evan are engaged in. Instead, she takes a photo of the card and sends it to Maya with a message. Am I crazy for being curious? Maya's response comes immediately. Yes. Also, tell me everything. Naomi spends the next hour on the phone with Maya, recounting a lunch, Evan's offer, Lucas's reaction. Maya listens with the patience of someone who's heard every chapter of this dysfunctional story. Here's what I think, Maya says finally. Lucas is scared. Real, genuine scared, probably for the first time in your marriage. And scared men do stupid things. But that doesn't mean you should jump into something with his rival just to prove a point. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just tired of feeling powerless. Then take power that's actually yours. Not power that comes from being wanted by men who see you as territory. Maya's words stay with Naomi long after they hang up. She's right, of course. Evan's interest, while flattering, is almost certainly strategic. And Lucas's sudden devotion is rooted in possessiveness, more than genuine feeling. What Naomi needs is agency that doesn't depend on either of them. She's still thinking about this 3 days later, when her phone rings with an unknown number. She almost doesn't answer, but curiosity wins out. Mrs. Blackwood? This is Evan Cross. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time. Naomi's pulse quickens despite herself. Mr. Cross. I have to admit, I'm surprised to hear from you. Please call me Evan. And I apologize for the directness, but I find that life's too short for games. I'd like to take you to lunch. A real conversation about real opportunities. My husband wouldn't approve. I'm not asking your husband. I'm asking you. You're a grown woman with an MBA and insights that most of my executives would kill for. The fact that you're married to Lucas Blackwood doesn't erase your agency. It's exactly what she needs to hear, even if it's coming from the wrong person. What kind of opportunities are we talking about? The kind that would give you actual power instead of reflected glory. But I'd rather discuss it in person. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock at the garden room. It's public, it's professional, and your husband can send a security detail if it makes him feel better. Naomi knows she should say no. Knows that meeting with Evan will push Lucas past whatever boundary he's currently maintaining. But Maya's words echo in her head. Take power that's actually yours. 1 o'clock, she agrees. But this is a business meeting, nothing more. Of course, Evan says, and she can hear the smile in his voice. What else would it be? She doesn't tell Lucas about the meeting. Doesn't mention it when they have dinner together that night, or when he asks about her plans for the next day. It's not lying, exactly. It's just withholding information in the same way he's withheld himself for 3 years. The garden room is exactly as advertised, elegant, public, and respectable. Evan is already there when she arrives, standing when she approaches with a kind of old-fashioned courtesy that feels genuine rather than performative. Thank you for coming, he says, pulling out her chair. I wasn't sure you would. I'm not sure I should have, Naomi admits. But you promised real opportunities, and I'm curious enough to hear you out. They order food light salads that neither of them pays much attention to, and Evan gets straight to the point. I'm expanding cross-international into sustainable development and green logistics. It's the future of the industry, and I need someone who understands both the business side and the ethical implications. Your thesis on sustainable supply chains was brilliant. Naomi blinks. You read my thesis? I read everything I can about people who interest me. Your work was genuinely impressive. The fact that you've been sitting idle in a penthouse while Lucas plays power games is frankly criminal. That's a very generous assessment of a woman you've only met once. I'm not being generous. I'm being accurate. Evan leans forward, his expression intense. I want to offer you a position. Executive Vice President of Sustainable Operations. Real authority, real salary, real chance to make an impact. You'd be building a department from the ground up. It's everything Naomi has wanted to hear since she graduated with her MBA. The kind of opportunity she thought she'd lost when she married Lucas. What's the catch? The catch is that it would mean working with me instead of against me. And that would complicate your marriage. My marriage is already complicated. Yes, Evan agrees. But this would add a level of complexity that Lucas won't forgive. He'll see it as betrayal, as you choosing me over him. I wouldn't be choosing you. I'd be choosing a career. Lucas won't see the distinction. To him, loyalty is absolute. You're either with him or against him, and working for me puts you firmly in the against column. Naomi should be offended by how transactional this conversation is, how clearly Evan is using her as a piece in whatever game he's playing with Lucas. But she's also grateful for the honesty, for someone finally treating her like an adult capable of understanding the stakes. I need time to think about it, she says. Of course. But I should mention one more thing. Evan pulls out a folder and slides it across the table. These are preliminary divorce papers. If you decide to take the position, I'd recommend filing simultaneously. Clean break, fresh start. Naomi's hands shake as she opens the folder. The papers are already filled out, just waiting for her signature. You're asking me to leave my husband. I'm giving you the option to leave a situation that's making you miserable. There's a difference. And if I do this, if I take the job and file for divorce, what happens then? Evan's expression softens slightly. Then you'd be free. Free to build a career on your own terms. Free to make your own choices. And yes, free to explore other possibilities if that's what you want. The implication hangs between them other possibilities that might include him. Naomi closes the folder, her mind racing. This is insane. We barely know each other. Sometimes the clearest decisions are the ones that feel insane. Besides, you don't have to decide anything about us. Just about yourself. About whether you want to keep living in Lucas's shadow or step into your own light. Naomi picks up the folder, holding it like it might explode. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. Evan signals for the check. For what it's worth, I think you're remarkable. And I think Lucas is an idiot for not seeing it sooner. She leaves the restaurant with the folder tucked in her bag, feeling like she's carrying a bomb. The entire drive home, she wars with herself. The smart choice is to throw away the papers and pretend this meeting never happened. The safe choice is to give Lucas his full month to see if the marriage can be salvaged. But when has Safe ever given her what she wanted? She's so lost in thought that she doesn't notice the black sedan following her until she's pulling into the building's garage. By then, it's too late to worry about whether Lucas has had her followed again. Of course he has. Control is his default setting. Lucas is waiting in the living room when she enters the penthouse. His tie is loosened, his sleeves rolled up, and there's a tumbler of scotch in his hand that's clearly not his first of the evening. How is lunch? He asks without looking at her. Naomi sets down her purse carefully, the folder inside suddenly feeling like evidence.
Fine.
How was your day? Interesting. I had an interesting call from my head of security. Apparently, my wife had lunch with Evan Cross at the garden room. So much for plausible deniability. It was a business meeting. A business meeting, Lucas repeats, finally turning to face her. His eyes are dark, dangerous. With the man I explicitly warned you about 3 days ago. You warned me that he was your rival. You didn't warn me that he might offer me something you never have respect for my abilities. What did he offer you, Naomi? She could lie, could downplay the meeting, make it sound innocent. Instead, she finds herself meeting Lucas's gaze head-on.
A job.
A real position with real authority in sustainable development. Everything I've wanted since I got my MBA. Lucas's expression goes very still. And divorce papers. The glass in Lucas's hand doesn't break, but his grip tightens until his knuckles go white. He gave you divorce papers. He gave me options, which is more than you've given me in 3 years. Lucas sets down the glass with exaggerated care and stands. Let me make sure I understand this. Evan Cross, a man you've met exactly once, offers you a job and a divorce, and you're actually considering it. Yes. The single word seems to hit Lucas like a physical blow. He takes a step back, running a hand through his hair. After the week we've had? After I've been trying to fix this? 1 week doesn't erase 3 years of neglect, Lucas. You said it yourself. You've been watching me for 2 months. 2 months where you could have said something, done something, but you only acted when someone else showed interest. That's not love. That's ownership. You think I don't know that? Lucas's voice rises for the first time since she's known him, control finally cracking. You think I don't lie awake at night knowing that I've destroyed the one real thing I could have had? That I've been so terrified of becoming my father that I became him anyway? The vulnerability in his voice stops Naomi cold. Then why? Why did you shut me out? Because caring about you terrified me, Lucas says, the words coming out raw and unfiltered. Because the last time I let myself care about someone, Clara, she used it to nearly destroy everything my family built. She was passing information to competitors, playing me like a fool, and when I found out, it almost broke me. My father said love was a liability, and Clara proved him right. Clara. Lucas has never mentioned this name before. Your ex. My ex-fiancé. The one person I thought I could trust, who turned out to be a spy for one of our competitors. After that, I promised myself I'd never be vulnerable again. And then my father arranged our marriage, and I saw a way to have companionship without risk. A wife who was bound by contract, not emotion. Someone I couldn't hurt, and who couldn't hurt me. But that's not what happened, Naomi says quietly. No. Because you weren't just a contract. You were funny and smart and real, and every day you existed in my space made it harder to pretend you didn't matter. So I pulled away, built higher walls, convinced myself that distance was protection. And now Evan Cross is offering you everything I should have given you from the start, and I have no right to ask you to stay. But I'm asking anyway. Not because I own you, or because you owe me anything, but because I'm finally brave enough to admit that I want you. Not as a wife on paper, but as a partner in truth. Naomi's eyes sting with tears she refuses to shed. It's everything she wanted to hear a year ago, 2 years ago. But now, with Evan's folder in her bag and the taste of independence on her tongue, it feels too late. I need time, she says. Real time to figure out what I want without pressure from you, or Evan, or anyone else. Lucas nods, looking defeated in a way she's never seen. How much time? I don't know. But I can't do this, she gestures between them, while you're tracking my movements and making decisions about what I can and can't do. If you want a real marriage, it starts with real trust. Done. No more surveillance. No more security reports unless you request them. Your life is yours. It should feel like a victory, but it just feels sad. Naomi moves toward her bedroom, then pauses. For what it's worth, Lucas, I believe you. I believe you were scared, and I understand why. But understanding doesn't mean I'm willing to wait around while you figure out how to be brave. She closes the door before he can respond, then leans against it, listening to the silence on the other side. After a long moment, she hears his footsteps retreating, the click of his office door, and then nothing. Naomi pulls out Evan's folder and spreads the contents across her bed. The divorce papers are thorough and fair, generous, even. The job offer is detailed, with a salary that would make her financially independent regardless of what happens with the marriage. Everything she needs to build a new life is right here in black and white. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. No pressure. Just possibilities. Then another text, this one from Lucas. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. But please know that I'm not giving up. Not on you. Not on us. 2 men. 2 offers. 2 completely different futures. And Naomi, for the first time in 3 years, has the power to choose. She doesn't sleep that night, just stares at the ceiling and plays out scenarios in her head. If she takes Evan's offer, she gets independence but loses the slim chance of salvaging something real with Lucas. If she stays, she gets potential but risks more heartbreak if Lucas reverts to his old patterns. If she chooses neither, she gets safety, but maybe nothing else. By morning, she hasn't reached a decision. She dresses carefully, armor for whatever comes next, and emerges to find Lucas making coffee. He looks like he hasn't slept either. I'm going to stay with Maya for a few days, Naomi says without preamble. I need space to think, and I can't do that here. Lucas's jaw tightens, but he nods. Whatever you need. She packs a bag while he watches from the doorway, not interfering, not commenting. At the door, she hesitates. Lucas. Yes. Don't wait for me. If you mean what you said about changing, prove it by changing. Not for me. for yourself. Then she leaves, and for the first time in 3 years, she doesn't look back. So what happens next? Does Naomi choose independence with Evan, or does she give Lucas another chance? The answer might surprise you. If you want to find out, make sure you're subscribed because the next chapter drops soon. And don't forget to hit that like button and tell me in the comments Team Lucas or Team Evan. Or should Naomi choose herself? Let me know what you think.